What's up, guys? Welcome to G Whiskey. My name's Jeff. Now, this is a channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions on a specific whiskey, and if you stick around to the end, I'll be giving it a score as well. If that sounds interesting, hit subscribe down below. And with that out of the way, why don't we jump into our review? Today, we're looking at Longmorn 15. Stick around. So we've got kind of a special one today. We have a Longmorn, and the one we've got for today is the 15-year-old. Now, Longmorn is a Speyside distillery. I don't think it's very widely known outside of whiskey circles, but certainly within the whiskey community, it's pretty well regarded. And probably their most famous whiskey to date is the 15-year-old. And ironically, this is one that's been discontinued for a very long time. It was pulled from the shelves way back in 2007, but to this day, this is probably their biggest hit. It's considered a bit of a classic, bit of a legend among whiskey drinkers. Now, since this was pulled from the shelves 14 years ago, Longmorn has had some successes since then. They've had a few nice expressions in their core ranges. They've revamped their core ranges a couple times, and they've also had quite a few successful IBs, or independent bottlings. But nothing ever quite reached the heights of this one. So this bottle actually belongs to a friend of mine. He and I used to enjoy quite a bit of Longmorn 15 back in the day, say about 10 years ago when we were just getting started with whiskey. And at that time, this had already been discontinued for several years, but luckily for us, this was still pretty widely available and sold at an affordable price here in Taiwan. Now, when we actually did find out that this was discontinued, my friend decided he wanted to stockpile a few bottles of it. And I actually had the option to pick a few of these up myself back then, and I opted out of it. Now, it was a whiskey I enjoyed. I definitely liked it a lot, but my friend liked it more. Not only that, I was pretty young. I was just getting started with whiskey. I didn't have a lot of money, so there's just other things that I wanted to try first. I didn't want to put all my money in one place. Now, flash forward 10 years later, my friend decided to pop this a few weeks back, and he was kind enough to share it with me. And hey, friends who share good whiskey are the best kind of friends, right? Part of the reason my friend decided to pop this now is because he and I recently split a Longmorn 18 together. We were enjoying it and we figured, why not? Why don't we do this side by side? After all, he'd been holding on to it for 10 years. Whiskey's not meant to be sitting in someone's cabinet collecting dust indefinitely. Eventually, you're gonna pop it, enjoy it with friends. Not only that, this was something I was really curious about. It had been 10 years since I last had it. Obviously, people change, palates change. I wanted to see how I felt coming back to this so much later. So with that said, why don't we hop into our review of this one? Why don't we find out what it's all about? And in the meantime, if you can kindly leave a like down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. Now, with regards to specs, this one's going to come in at an interesting ABV. It's at 45%, so just under 46. Beyond that, this is a chill filtered expression, and it is also colored. So that's not really something you'd expect from such a classic, well-regarded whiskey, but there you go. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that the whiskey is bad, but certainly the specs are not ideal. So I'll show you the color of our whiskey, even though it doesn't matter. We have little bits of cork floating around in there. Squat bottle's nice. I like this label. I don't love it. Pretty simple. We have some fluff here on the front. We have some fluff on the back. What I like most is this part right here and here. Modern whiskeys are going to tell you that they're aged or matured in the finest oak casks, which already in itself is pretty meaningless. But this one goes one step simpler and it just says, matured in oak casks. But yeah, you are. Anyway, a bit of a retro look to this one, which of course makes sense. It's been gone for basically 15 years. There's no tasting notes or production details anywhere on the bottle. I can say that I like the color scheme. I think that looks good, but generally speaking, it's just an okay bottle. I'll give it a score of maybe 3 out of 5. Part of me wants to go a little bit higher just because it's such a classic, but the bottle's fine. And let's be honest, if a Longmorn 15 is commanding attention on your shelf, it's not because of how the bottle looks. Alright, let's try our nose. So this is very floral and pretty. You have vanilla in here, you have honey in here, you have some salted toffee. Vanilla is kind of like a pound cake, I want to say. Little hint of banana in there. You have some unleavened dough, some sultanas, like a turnover, apple turnover, a berry turnover. Gentle oak in this one. This is perfumey, it's sweet, it's soft. Now for our palate. Gentle arrival, but with very full flavors. We're going to start off on fruit. So we got honeydew melon. We have some dried apricots, some orange zest, some lemongrass. There's some apple pie in here, some sultanas. Then we move on to some sweeter notes, so like salted toffee, some milk chocolate, some creme brulee, and like a banana cream sundae. So this is very soft, very gentle, it's almost creamy. Now for our finish. So beautiful caramel and honey notes in here. Start with caramelized brown sugar. There's oak. There's some milk chocolate. There's some like water chestnuts in here. A little bit fruity too. So we're going to move on to, again, a little bit of that banana. There's some star fruit, Asian star fruit in here. You have that classic Longmorn lemongrass note. This is also a little bit savory. In terms of length, I'd say it's medium in length, but very full and thick. So I actually like this one. It's much better than I remember it being. Honestly, if I could go back in time, I'd probably snag 5 or 10 of these just for myself. This is rich, it's unique, it's interesting, it's a deeply satisfying whiskey. Beyond that, just in terms of the style, this is a style of whiskey that you're not going to see too much in modern, affordable bottlings. For me, the highlight in this whiskey is going to be the sweetness. Now, not so much the sweetness that you're getting from the fruits, which is also very lovely, but I'm talking more like the caramels, the honey, the brown sugar notes in here. They're just a little bit deeper and a little bit richer than what you usually get with these kinds of whiskeys. Beyond that, they work really nicely with like the more savory elements in here. This is actually kind of a salty whiskey, and that sweetness and savoriness, they work beautifully together. And I think it's kind of funny, a lot of people don't talk about how savory this whiskey is. For me, there is kind of a meaty savoriness to this whiskey, a little bit similar to what you might find in a Mortlach, for example. Now, of course, Mortlach and Longmorn are very different whiskeys. Mortlach is going to be darker, more sherry forward. This is going to be a lot brighter and a lot more mouth coating, but they both share a kind of meaty, savory element that I really, really enjoy. Beyond that, you also have that classic Longmorn lemongrass note that's in here. Beautiful note, kind of what made me fall in love with the Longmorn profile in the first place. So overall, this is just a whiskey that's brimming with character. So yeah, really nice stuff. I'm going to give this a good score. I think I'm going to go with 91 for this one. And you know, I like to think that I'm not being nostalgic here or that I'm putting it on a pedestal. Trying to be objective with this one. Despite the fact that it's got some pretty weak specs, this is a really enjoyable whiskey. And you know, part of you wants to go against the grain, especially when it's a discontinued bottle and people are saying, you know, whiskey was so much better back in the day. I don't want to be that guy, I'm not that guy, but I really can't argue with how good this whiskey is. Longmorn 15 is beautiful. So I think this is a bottle that I'm really going to enjoy. I think my friend and I are going to love it. We're going to drink it slowly, make it last. And when you have a bottle like this, it's always a little bit bittersweet because I know this is probably the last bottle of Longmorn 15 I'll ever have in my life. So, you know, you want to make the most of it. Now, I don't want to hype this up too much. It's not a mind-blowing whiskey, but it is a very, very good whiskey. And like I said, it's a style and a set of flavors that you're not going to see too often with modern sherried expressions. The casks and the spirit are both talking here. Very good balance, but most importantly, it's just a deeply satisfying whiskey to drink. So it's something I'm going to savor. It's something that's going to be a lot of fun digging into. So speaking in terms of value, this is going to be a tough one to recommend. First of all, I don't think you'll be able to find it, and if you can find it, it's going to be on an auction site or some kind of secondary market thing, and for sure the prices are going to be over the top, super inflated, and I'm sure it's not worth the money. Keep in mind, the only reason I have access to this is because my friend stockpiled it from a long time ago. That's the only reason I'm drinking it. I certainly wouldn't be paying the prices they're asking for it nowadays. Another thing to remember is that this was designed to be an affordable whiskey back when it was available. So yeah, I'm not going to recommend to anybody that they should pick it up now. I can certainly think of better ways to spend several $100s, but within the context of its original retail price, this whiskey is an absolute stunner. I will say this, if you ever get the chance to maybe sample it or try it at an affordable price, do it. Alright, that'll be it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. As always, hit subscribe down below, click that little bell icon, and of course, smash the like. And I do want to hear from you. Have you tried Longmorn 15? How did you try it? How much did you pay for it? Or how did you get access to it? And finally, down in the comments, let me know what you want to see me review next, and I'll keep it in mind for my upcoming videos. Bye, guys.